Hello, and welcome. Welcome once again to the Secrets of the High Demand Coach podcast. And I am here with an acquaintance, and I would dare say friend of mine, the one and only Kyle Mealy, who is a Fractional Chief Revenue Officer who helps in professional service and recurring revenue businesses between $1 million and $10 million. He helps them find profitability and growth. He offers Fractional Chief Revenue Officer services designed to give affordable executive leadership to small businesses. His company, Next Level Coaching, has a 100% success rate in doubling top-line revenue in 3 years or less, including an average first-year growth rate of 30.4% and 10x profitability. Kyle has previously sat in the COO, CEO, and CRO seats with businesses ranging from startups to over $26 million in revenue. And he is here with us today. Kyle, welcome to the show. Super excited to have you here. I feel like we've chatted about like a dozen times, but we finally got to hit record. So I want to jump in because reaching $1 million is no easy task, right? $1 million in revenue is quite an accomplishment as it is. Very few businesses make it this far. But the kind of dirty secret about generating $1 million, like lots of people want $1 million, and then they get there and they realize it's actually not a great place to stay. It tends to be very unstable. It's a ton of work to generate $1 million. It disappears really quickly with all the expenses. And so if folks who are not there yet, it's okay. It's a great milestone, but very quickly you're going to realize we've got to keep this thing going. So my question for you in all of that is, let's say we've got someone, founder, doing $1 million, proud of it, rightly should be, but what's the mindset shift? The primary mindset shift they need to make to move their company from that $1 million company to $10 million in annual revenue?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm glad we get to click record and have this conversation, and I'm very grateful to be here. Yeah, the goal for me simply is help listeners make those shifts and provide some actionable insights. And so I'll start right in with the let's call them the $1 million founder. They're probably sitting in the marketing and sales seat, and they've probably figured it out, but it doesn't mean it's reproducible. And so the first question I would ask them is, how is it reproducible? And if the answer is then that's the first mindset shift: is how are we gonna bottle you up?
Yeah. And that's so true. And it's surprisingly difficult, right? Especially to do on your own. And this is why I love when folks like you can come alongside, because some of our folks may have heard of Johari's window, but there's this idea of things that you don't know, that don't know, whatever. But what I've found in this process that makes that mindset shift so hard is what you don't know that you know. Right. There's so many things that are just kind of intuitive, all right, about like what we've learned, but we didn't really realize we learned it. And so we give it to someone else and say, go sell, but we don't give them the rest of that knowledge. Have you run into that? And if so, what are some steps to kind of track that down and actually codify it?
I love this. The Johari window, I have the exact same issue describing, and I can't remember all the pieces. I've got a simpler way of putting this exact problem that you're right around the edges of. It's the label. It's reading the label from inside the jar problem. Usually these CEOs, founders have made it work because generally, and E-Myth kind of confirms this, they're the technician, they're the subject matter expert. They are the wizard behind the curtain, usually up until that is certainly that $1 million mark. And this definitely expands beyond up to 5 million. I feel like it's true there. And so they're in the jar trying to shout what they solve, but they can't read the label and make it really simple for others to understand what's in the jar. What is their special sauce? What makes them unique, and what problem they actually solve? Because along the way to $1 million, they're usually having to, in some ways, say, yes, we can do that. Yes, we can. They have this kind of awful aggregate. So I think one of the simplest ways that we actually make an impact immediately on business owners who are in that 3 million, who kind of are like, well, we can do this. We can kind of do that. Well, we've done that before. It's a very simple whiteboard exercise. Tell me the client you love. Tell me the 3 clients you love. You just want to work with them. They're fun. Tell me the 3 clients you're the most successful with. Tell me the 3 clients that you are the most profitable with. And when you write those 3 out, now do the inverse. Tell me the clients that you hate. Tell me the clients your teammates hate. Tell me the clients that are the most annoying and that you aren't very good at. And all of a sudden, you get a lot of clarity. You know who we need to be talking to. And then when you can do that, now we can start to write the label of what is the secret sauce. And that's the start of codifying.
Yeah, it's so true. One of the things that I have found is, and for our listeners who are familiar with the predictable success model, a lot of times that $1 million mark is around the early part of fun. So we're getting out of this early struggle, fight for survival. And that early struggle, fight for survival is all about saying yes, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if they even complete the sentence. You're right. We're saying yes.
You have a paycheck? You have a check? You get
yeah. I've got it. I'm in. We're in. And what I've found is you will fail that stage if you don't say yes enough, right? So it for many people, it's necessary to go wide. But for everyone who does that, it is necessary to then narrow down again once you get to this point. And I love the exercise because I think it's such a simple way of understanding what we do need to start saying no to so that we really can say yes to the right things. Would you agree?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I love your guys' model and kind of the approach to the fun and getting towards whitewater. And I heard it, another way of kind of wading into it is this first million is this massively courageous leap from an entrepreneur. But the danger of that million is there is success behind it, right? You're so successful that you stop doing the thing that got you there. And in entrepreneurship, it's really that courageous leap. And so you never really leave courage. There's never a destination. You never really get there. It's just this repetitive cycle of stepping back into the courage. And so the courage here might be saying no to clients that you before were saying yes to, because that's kind of that next wave. And it's being honest with what you're really good at. And that's it doesn't seem like it's scary, but when you kind of have come from scarcity into some abundance, it is scary all over again. So I totally agree with you.
Such an unbelievably good point, because the courage early on is to say yes.
Right.
That is the courageous thing, right? But then the courage at this next stage is to say no, right? And so, it's crazy. And it does a number on your head when you're sitting right there in the middle of it. And again, going back to your reading from the inside of the jar, this is another way that plays out is you might be sitting there thinking, yes, we are courageous. We are saying yes. But the real courage is actually narrowing your focus so that you can make it reproducible.
And this is the secrets of the high demand coach. And guess what? You need outside perspective to read the label on the jar. And that is also a big, scary stretch to have somebody else tell you about your business. And guess what happens between the 1 and 10? It's when they start to get outside perspective. It's when they start to have somebody tell them these things that maybe they know intuitively or they believe deeply, but it's so easy to say, I believe it. And then, you turn off that part of your world and then you go back into the work. And then you're worried about payroll, you're worried about cash flow, and the fears come in.
Yeah, it's so true. So once you decide to grow revenue, right? We're at $1 million. We get a new fresh vision for 10 million. One of the things I found is yes, we're in, let's do it. And then the next question is, what do we do, right? And it's not for a shortage of ideas, right? We're talking about like visionary leaders that are founders that they've got ideas until the next century. But I found the real challenge going, just piggybacking right off of our last conversation, is figuring out which ideas to actually focus on, right? How do we actually move the needle? How do you help folks figure that out?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways to do this. And especially in modern B2B, I really teach marketing plus sales equals revenue. Let's stop thinking about the language of we need more sales, because the language there tells us to get more salespeople. And that's when, I think you alluded to this already, we go hire that, $50,000 person off the street to go pound on doors and call everybody they know and give them a laptop and say, go get them, Tiger. And then nothing happens. And then the visionary, the CEO goes, these salespeople suck. And it's like, no, you're approaching the problem the wrong way. Well, fine, we need more marketing. I need more people on my website. So they spend a bunch of money on a website, bunch of money on an agency, and they're back to square one. This is the thing. So fundamentally, I say, hey, let's do a revenue cascade. So let's do a diagnostic of, from the moment someone even thinks about your brand or hears your brand, right? The furthest way out in the top of the funnel. And then we stack your marketing funnel right on top of your sales pipeline. And like an MRI, we take lots of little slices of everything that happens between the moments that they hear about you to the moment they sign on the bottom line or on the dotted line. And with that piece of information, we can start to make really strategic, surgical decisions that aren't always expensive, that aren't always bringing, like a gun to a knife fight, or a knife to a gunfight.
We had a guest on the show way back, first 10 or 15 episodes, something like this. And he was also familiar with predictable success. And one of the things we did was kind of walk through the different stages. What do you need? And one of the things that he said that it was fantastic is, especially early on, that first million, you can actually get distracted by too much marketing. And marketing in that stage really is sales support. But what I've found, and I think one of the biggest challenges that you're kind of referring to here is you can't scale without it, right? Like you go to 10x that again, you go to multiple sales people. If you just try and add a bunch of salespeople and you don't really generate any kind of business for them or with them, right? Depending on your model, either one is fine. Then again, it's never really going to get past what the founder or a person can do by themselves. And you never really actually grow revenue, even if you have someone else doing it.
I couldn't agree more there. I think marketing evolves just like the business evolves, right? Marketing early on is word of mouth. It's having a cool logo. Like, how many founders sit there and worry about the logo for, 18, hours? And it's like, but in that early stage, it's so just like you putting yourself out there, right? It really starts with you putting yourself out there. And then as you get to this 1 to 10, it stops being about you. It starts being about your customer. And how do you start to morph the message less about you and more about the customer, and also do it in a scalable way where it doesn't require your voice? And that's so difficult to manage. And that's kind of that label in the jar problem too. Most of the visionaries I know and the CEOs I know, they can talk about their product forever, but they don't know where to start talking about the product. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we generally do, is help kind of build so we have a very simple system behind us that we put in place there to help extract that information and then put it into a sequence that makes sense, that can be executed on and pushed out there at scale in a process way, in a cheap way.
Yeah.
So that's that shift they have to take.
Yeah. So good. So Kyle, you kind of already mentioned some of this, but there's a question I like to ask all my guests, and just to see if there's anything else that we can pull out of you here. What would you say is the biggest secret that you wish wasn't a secret at all? What's that one thing you wish everybody watching or listening today knew?
I've kind of given it away already, but I so deeply believe it, is that we cannot keep thinking of, especially in this 1 to 10, B2B, professional services, that there's a marketing thing and a sales thing. Stop calling it sales. Think always in terms of revenue. And so I teach it as, we should be playing Moneyball. If you guys are familiar with Moneyball, that's it's the Billy Bean concept, where he had the Oakland Athletics, the baseball team, with a very tiny payroll, but they were trying to play and find talent and go and build a team like the New York Yankees, who had 5x their payroll. But in small business, we have to be like the Oakland Athletics. We have to focus on analytics, and we have to find cheap moves, and that's our job. So. And the way to do that is start thinking differently about our language and not say sales, say revenue.
So good. Kyle, there's some folks listening to this. They've been banging their head against the wall for a long time and finally found an answer to the challenge they're facing. Where can they find more out about you? How can they connect with you to learn more about the work you do?
So I spew all my thoughts all the time on LinkedIn. So that's an easy one. Connect with me there. Our website is readyforthenextlevel.com, because they've been banging their head against the wall wondering what to do. That's when you know you're ready for the next level. Haha, couldn't resist. I'm a marketer at heart. And on there, I highly recommend you find the Revenue Cascade. It's just readyforthenextlevel.com/revenue-cascade. It's a diagnostic tool. It is I don't even require any email, because I want everybody to have it. You just take it and use it, because you're going to start spending way less money on stupid marketing and way less money on stupid sales. And you're going to start thinking holistically about your marketing and sales revenue.
That's fantastic. Kyle, thank you so much. So glad to have you on the show. Feels like it's long overdue, but I'm glad to have you here. For those of you watching and listening today, you know that your time and attention mean the world to us. I hope you got as much out of this conversation as I know I did, and I cannot wait to see you next time. Take care.